Hey, so we have Arvin from Contour here with us today.
Hey,
Arvin,
Alex.
right in.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
For sure. Tell us about Contour. Who's your product for?
Yeah. So we're building Contour for engineers, QA teams, anyone really who needs to make sure the product is working reliably.
And there's a generative AI component to your business, isn't there?
There is, yeah.
Was building in the Gen AI space an opportunistic move? Did you specifically seek after a problem as opposed to the technology? Which one came first?
Yeah, so it was a little bit opportunistic based on me and my co-founder were talking about this, and we realized that the state of the internet and the way we browse the internet hasn't changed in decades, sort of since the internet came out. And so we were thinking about these like small like evolutions in like abstracting away the low level interactivity of the browser. And so it's not just going to be mouse clicks anymore, mouse clicks and typing, but it's a level of abstraction above that, kind of like speaking to your browser.
Well, it's really honest for you to say it was opportunistic, but it seems like you've also honed in on a problem here. So what about this problem is particularly interesting to you?
Yeah, I think this space is really cool because it's like a unique opportunity for us to interface with the internet, I would say more effectively. A lot of people have seen Iron Man, and it kind of reminds me of Jarvis, where a lot of the tasks that we do on the internet right now are kind of hard to automate in a scalable way with the state of existing technology. But with the evolution of LLMs, I think kind of being able to talk to your browser and automate away these sort of mundane tasks, that's a superpower really, because you can focus on the things that actually matter.
Let's talk about moat. There's a lot of talk about how a lot of the Gen AI companies just wrapper around ChatGPT. How is yours not?
So let me start answering that question by saying I think a lot of products do end up being a wrapper in the beginning. And that's just how it goes when you're building a startup. Your product is a little bit dinky, and you just start off as like a wrapper, but eventually you build all of these extra things on top of that. And so I think there are two things that really give us a moat here. One is integration with your development cycle. And so basically, as your product evolves, you need to make sure that the core functionality of your product is working. So that includes, being able to log into your app. And so we integrate with your development cycle, make sure that on every time, like every deployment, things are working as intended. And then two, sort of just making sure that like we're testing the right things in your product as it evolves. So you add a new feature, you want to be able to test that it works every different way. So if I have to, upload a file, you want to make sure that you can upload a file in, every different way. You try every different file format. And instead of building individual tests for these, we abstract all of that away, and we'll test all of those things for you kind of automatically.
Let's talk about other companies then. Which maybe hot generative AI company do you think doesn't have a moat?
I don't want to badmouth any other company. I think a lot of companies are working to develop that moat. But I think it's one of those things where, similar to like Web2 and mobile, a lot of people built a lot of infrastructure around these sort of things first before the applications were really evolved. And so it's sort of this concept of infrastructure versus application, kind of putting the cart before the horse. You don't want to build all this infrastructure when there aren't a lot of apps. And so I think right now we're at a stage with LLMs where the applications are just so new, and there's so many, there's so many that are just coming out. I think it's going to take a while to get to the point where that level of infrastructure is required. And so we're still really early in the game.
Love it. That's a good thought. Staying on the topic of other companies, who are the big players in your problem space right now?
Yeah. So there are a few, but I would say the big one for browser automation and testing is Cypress. And they've sort of been focused on abstracting away the coding aspect of this. But at the same time, they don't have a lot of like AI functionality. At the end of the day, I think it's just going to be a race to see who can bring LLMs to UI testing at the end of the day. And it's going to be a race. There's going to be a lot of competition, but we're excited to be in the race.
So let's say a former coworker were to start a company doing the same thing tomorrow.
Yeah.
Beat you? How are you going to win?
So I've never actually worked in another company before, so don't have that problem actually.
I guess we're going to be revisiting this idea later on as well.
Yeah.
On to the next one. You're in the current YC batch.
Yeah.
See the poster behind you, make something people want.
Yeah.
I suspect you may be hiring in the near future. Tell us, why should a 10x engineer or a 10x talent join your startup?
Yeah. So first, I think the space is really interesting, and I hope that other people find this space interesting, especially some of our first hires. So we felt, a bit of a pull from the customers that we have who very saliently feel this problem, and they're willing to really work with us as our product is super early to get tests up and running for them. So I think that's been really exciting to see that we can actually solve a real problem for these people. And I think two is that Vamsi and I, my co-founder, really care about building a really high quality product. And we've used these kind of products that get super bloated and don't actually do the thing that you need it to do. And so we're very focused on making sure the tech is right for this. And I think third, we're at this very unique crossroads. And I think there's a great opportunity here to sort of shape how we interact with browsers and the internet. It's like this new mode of interacting with the internet. And it doesn't really just apply to testing. I think this applies to a lot of different things. The tech at its core allows for flexibility across a bunch of different browser automation tasks, things like RPA, data extraction. And I think it's the tech is so great that the applications are just so widespread. And I'm very excited for that.